This RC Beginner Series is brought to you by Horizon Hobby. Hey, welcome to Flite Test. I'm Josh, and this is Josh.
Hi.
And today is episode 4, a new hope of our beginner series.
You're gonna be in the air, my friends.
That's right, today is the day.
Yes, now if you haven't seen the previous 3 episodes, the previous episode to this was...
to this one was control systems, yeah, but we also covered picking out the right plane and
basic
also...
aerodynamics.
Right. So we should be ready to get this thing off the
Yes.
ground at least a little bit today.
Later on in the episodes, getting closer to 10, we are going to divulge back into power systems around scratch building, because we mentioned scratch building is a wonderful avenue.
Right.
But you know, if you've been following along with us, taking our advice, by now you're ready to get in the air for the first time.
Okay, let's do it.
All right, now
let's
there's some
go right
things
now.
that we should always do first. Do you remember what they are?
Oh yeah. We have to do a range test.
Range tests are very important. Now, your communication link is only as good as your ability for your transmitter to talk. All right, like once it goes to the thumbs,
That's deep.
Yeah, once it goes to the thumbs, it has to go through the transmitter.
That's right.
If the transmitter's not talking well to this, nothing's gonna happen. It's a free
It's
flight.
gonna be a bad day.
So there's a beautiful thing called range checking. Now, every reputable manufacturer will have a manual. Manuals are good, read them. There's always something about range checking in every manual of a reputable transmitter. This one actually has presets that are labeled out. This is a DX8, and in case you're wondering what this is our way
This
of...
doesn't come standard.
This is not standard. This is our way of capturing our stick movements. So if this kind of weirds you out, it weirds us out too, but it's gonna capture stick movements.
So you can really see
Let you
what's
see
going on
everything
here.
going on here. But the first thing we're gonna do is put it in a range check.
Okay.
And we're gonna actually, what it's gonna do is gonna dial down the transmitter power to a limited amount. And then roughly on this one, about 30 paces, as long as we still have communication link, we're good to go.
Okay.
All right, so let's go ahead and do that now.
All right, should I set it on the ground or
Yeah,
what?
put it on the ground now.
Okay.
All right, so we entered into range mode.
Yeah.
And actually this has written instructions right on it. It says press and hold the trainer button to activate range test 30 paces.
Which is this guy up here?
Yes.
Okay.
Now some cool additional information for you too. You just don't want to go in one line. Even though it says to go in one line, walk around in a whole circle.
So you get the full effect.
Full effect. That way if there's any dead zones, you're going to see it. And
Okay.
while you're doing that, you're going to be cycling your controls,
Okay.
not your throttle. That'd be kind of awkward.
Yeah.
Ready to do it?
I'm ready.
Let's go do it.
Okay.
Range test on. Let's walk this way first.
30 paces.
30 paces.
1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, everything checked out good, right?
Yep, but we got a good exercise too.
Run it up. Yeah, we did.
We're not ready to run it up yet, brother. There's a couple other things we have to test too.
Okay.
Mainly your battery. Now,
Oh,
we
yeah.
just range check this here. It didn't take too long. Always make sure you start with a fresh battery. And there's a couple ways you can do that, isn't there?
Yes.
All right, what's the one? It's in your pocket.
Yeah, I have this little gizmo here.
Yes,
Battery checker.
a battery checker. They come in all different brands, makes, sizes. Basically, it's going to tell you the voltage of your battery. Now, if you're unclear, some of the voltage checkers actually even have like a little fuel gauge where it says full or empty. But 12.6 is your maximum voltage. You don't ever want to be flying it if it's under 12 volts. If you just take it off the charger and it's a full charge, it's registering the proper voltage, you can take it from there too. But always make sure you check it. Nothing's more embarrassing than when you're taking off and your battery dies when you're going down. Not good in the batteries either. You done? All right. There's one final thing. You want to take a guess what that is?
CG.
CG, center
of
of
gravity.
gravity. Very important. And also, always check your CG every time you go out to the field, every time you change your pack. Reason being, not all packs are made the same, and oftentimes the battery placement is what is important to give your plane proper balance. Now, what do you think CG is?
Center of gravity.
Yes, but why do you think it's important for a plane?
Oh, because you don't want it to be too heavy on the front or on the back.
Exactly.
They'd fly crazy.
They just, weird things happen. You know what? As a favorite friend of ours says, a nose-heavy plane flies poorly, a tail-heavy plane flies once.
That's deep.
That's deep, isn't it?
Who is that? King Solomon?
The guy running the boom mic right there. It's David Vindestal from Sweden.
Oh, cool.
One thing that's always a good idea to do is once you have your plane dialed and you're happy with it, always go to manufacturer spec for your CG.
Right.
I like to take a magic marker and physically mark 2 big black dots here.
Okay.
Now it's very crucial because every time you put that battery in, all you simply need to do is place your fingers on the CG and
it
make
should
sure
balance out.
it should balance nice and level.
Right.
All right.
Now, if it doesn't, there's a few
if
things
it's
you
like
can
the-
do, right?
You can move the battery
Move
forward.
the battery.
You can also move the battery backwards to make
Yeah.
it proper.
Right.
Always make sure your plane balances out properly. Reason being is when you get your control inputs and it goes up and down, this is the point of which it's pivoting on.
Okay.
If it's too far aft, your wing's going to act kind of funny,
Mm-hmm.
and bad things are going to happen. If it's too far forward, you're going to be nose heavy, and it's going to be kind of like a lawn dart.
It's gonna be bad.
Yeah, so all of it matters on the perfect point of pivoting to make sure the swing acts properly in all certain attitudes.
Okay.
All right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, now the CG is done. We have a good battery in it. What do you think is next?
We should probably label our plane. What
Yeah.
if you're flying out there, you lose sight of it, it falls, and you don't know where it fell.
It's not an if, it's a when, my friends. Because as you fly more and more, you're going to be pushing the boundaries.
Put your name and number on it so that a nice neighbor can bring it back to you.
Preferably a real name and a real number. Last thing we want to check is throws.
Why? How does it throw? Like throw it?
No, control throws. Left is left, right is right, up is up, down is down. Now there's a couple fun methods for this, isn't there?
We went over that already in an earlier episode.
We did. And as a matter of fact, if you listen to the basic aerodynamics, you'll understand how control throws work. But long story short, there's a couple different methods really quickly. Your control input for your rudder, left is left, right is right. Pulling back on the stick should give you up.
Yeah.
Forward, down.
Right.
Of course, your throttle. And this is a 3-channel, so we don't have to worry about our ailerons. There's also the high five method. But if you've learned about basic aerodynamics, you can just do a visual check. You'll understand how the airflow works, how the plane reacts.
You're really smart.
You're really smart. Now
let's fly.
let's ready to fly.
Yeah.
Now, there's always other methods of learning how to fly. If you have a buddy that's helping you get in the hobby, there's things called buddy cords and trainer boxes and things like that. Those will enable your buddy to override you when you get in trouble. You're going to be able to learn and make a lot more mistakes a lot quicker. But we're going to assume that if you're teaching yourself and you don't have a buddy to get in the hobby, we're going to go with that method. Okay?
Okay.
So the first thing you want to do is learn to taxi your airplane. And now we're going off of a hard surface runway, mainly because these wheels on these electrics are so small.
Tiny. You can't really go through the grass
You
with
put it in the grass, unless it's a bigger plane, it's just not going to go through very well.
Yeah.
Now hard surface enables the plane to roll really well, but also it's key to learn how to make your plane track straight.
Okay.
Now on a 3-channel airplane, the rudder is going to be on your right stick.
Okay.
And that's also going to be what steers your airplane.
Right.
Another important thing is to keep a little bit of back pressure, keeping that elevator planted on the ground.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and just taxi it around a little bit, okay?
Okay.
First thing you want to do is make sure the plane tracks straight. Very nice. Now, as you can see,
Rocks.
you see how much effect that rudder has on it.
Yeah, wow.
Quite a
Even when
bit.
it's not in the air.
You don't want to get the plane going too fast. You don't want to steer it too quickly or do something called a ground loop.
Okay. What's that?
Ground loop is where it kicks up on a wingtip and tips over.
Okay.
All right? This is also really good exercise on directional. When it's coming towards you, it's going to be backwards. That'll
Right.
really play key
Correct.
later on.
Yeah.
So let's talk. Your controls are all trimmed out nice and neutral,
Yeah.
but it's not traxiing straight. What do you think we adjust?
It's probably the wheels.
The wheels. The wheel landing gear could be crooked. And also the tail wheel could be crooked.
Yeah.
So check to make sure that these are properly pressed in and not bent in any way, which is
Everything's
causing you to
straight.
turn. Exactly. How do
Okay.
they look?
Looks good.
It's taxiing pretty straight.
Okay.
All right. Now our next step is just a couple simple, long, straight runs.
Okay.
All right.
We're going to take off?
We're going to take off soon. Once again, this has never flown before. Some good practice to do. I'm torching you, aren't I?
This is taking forever.
You ready for this?
Yes.
Once again, just a little bit of back input. And do a nice straight run.
And go.
Now, do you see that?
That's
See what
what
just
you're
happened
talking about, the loop?
Kind of like a ground loop. But what
Okay.
that is actually the plane was getting enough lift and it wanted to take off, but it couldn't. And you can
Okay.
see how things get kind of funny there.
Yeah.
All right.
So you got to commit.
You got to commit. So let's go ahead and get the tail up just for a second, and then we're going to back off the throttle. All right.
All right. There it is.
There we go.
Okay, so the tail lifted off a little
Tail
bit.
lifted off. Now at this point you should be really comfortable in the attitude. Don't be afraid to use a whole battery up just taxiing back and forth. Just be prepared to cut back on the throttle and always keep your movements nice and small. You're never going to do aggressive movements on takeoffs or landings.
Okay.
If you do, it's probably because something bad's happening.
Right.
Best thing to do is chop the throttle and let it settle down.
Okay.
All right?
All right.
Now, we're ready to get in the air.
Okay.
Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
All right, let's move all the way back over here.
Okay.
Give ourselves as much runway as possible.
All right.
All right, now there's a very important reason why we moved as much space as we could, wasn't there?
What?
Because we need to have proper flying space.
Oh, yeah.
An important rule of thumb is to imagine the amount of space this plane will do. And also in the manual, it also recommend, like this plane's good for a baseball field, or this plane's good for, a flying park.
Yeah.
Something like that. Always make sure you keep that in mind. But if you're just flying in your backyard, picture with the amount of area,
That you're going to need.
yes, and
And then double it.
double it. You want as much area as possible. And also, the planes, although they fly slower, reaction speed is less time. The more open area you have, the better likelihood you're going to be able to recover without hitting anything.
Now, since we're taking off this way,
Yes.
are we going to be landing this way as well?
That is absolutely correct.
So another thing you want to make sure of is what's behind you. It's good that we have all this space out here, but we want to make sure that we have plenty of space
Yeah.
back here, because this is where we're going to be coming from.
if there was a
when we come
building
into land,
or a bunch of trees right here,
it would be bad.
not a good thing.
There's no way that we could come in that way, but we have plenty of space this way. We have plenty of space this way.
And there's also a key reason why we're picking this direction too. And today is very, very common. I'd strongly recommend anytime you're gonna learn to fly, pick the calmest day, even if it's a matter of waiting a few days or even a week. It's better to learn how to fly when the wind is calm because you'll actually feel what the plane's doing, not what the wind's doing to the plane.
Right.
All right, but in this case, the wind in general is coming this direction. We're gonna fly this direction.
Okay.
Always fly directly into the wind at all times. If you can, or as you get better, you can do crosswind takeoffs and things like that, but you never wanna fly downwind takeoffs. Yeah, a good way to tell is actually by just taking
some grass and throwing in the air.
Defacing nature, you know, things like that. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this off. Now we have concrete here, but I'm actually gonna be shooting for that grass over on the other side. And all you wanna concentrate on doing is getting the plane off the ground and keeping it about maybe 5-10 feet up and just keep your direction going. Once you're ready to land, go ahead and back off that throttle and let it settle back into the ground. This is gonna teach you tracking, and it's also gonna teach you flaring and settling back on the ground. Once you take off, you have to land.
That's true.
Okay, so by doing this over and over and over again, getting comfortable with it, you're gonna learn how to self-rate the plane and keep it tracking the way you want it, and you're gonna be able to learn how to flare the plane and bring it back to the ground gently.
Okay.
All right, now do you know what a flare is?
Yeah, it's where you kind of like pull back just a little bit.
Exactly. You're bleeding off the lift energy off of the wings, so all the lift is depleted, so when you hit the ground, it's gonna stay on the ground.
Right.
If you have too much speed and you hit the ground and you pull back to keep that tail down, it's gonna shoot right back up in the air.
Okay.
You don't want that.
All right.
All
Nice
right.
and easy.
Yep, but you wanna manage your energy. You do not wanna stall the airplane.
Right. Now, one thing you want to remember, really important, is just practice taking off and landing in a straight line.
Yeah.
You don't want to make any crazy movements while you're practicing this.
Just correct, don't turn.
Yeah, if
right.
you have to make corrections, but don't try to go somewhere else.
You're gonna be turning in no time. One little baby step at a time.
Baby steps.
Baby steps.
Baby step takeoff.
You got it, right that way. All right, we're gonna give throttle slowly and smoothly. Tail's lifting up, correcting,
There you go.
and then we're taking off the power and bleeding it back. And there we are.
Little somersault.
That's okay. Somersaults are good. Anytime you have tall grass in the distance, that's a good thing.
It's nice and cushy.
Nice and cushy. Cushy's good. Now taking off of concrete is better. Landing in grass is better. Even if you flip over your airplane, as long as your throttle's depleted, it's gonna be just fine.
Okay, it looked nice and soft.
Yeah, it's nice and soft.
Now, if you're taking off and you find that it's constantly doing something that you don't like, it's pulling to the right or to the left, just doing something that you have to put a lot of correction into,
Yeah.
you might have a trimming issue.
Yes. And trimming issues is simply, basically, minutely, permanently moving the control just ever so slightly to counteract that.
Yep.
So say the trim was always wanting to go to the right,
right.
or to the plane was always wanting to go to the right.
So instead of you having to constantly hold to the left to make
just-
everything correct, you just trim it.
Couple little clicks.
It's just this button right here.
And put simply, it's like basically holding a stick a little bit to the left all the time.
But you don't have to do it. It's doing it for you.
Exactly. You always want to have the plane, before you fly it, trimmed up properly. And it's not a bad idea to hop the plane up in the air and feel the trims before you take off almost every flight.
Make sure everything's good.
Yeah. All right, let's do it again.
Okay. Tails up. There you
Wheels
go.
up. And see a little
Keep it
wing
level.
gust.
There you go, yeah. You're just correcting. And a nice little
Back
somersault.
down on the grass again. All right, one last time.
Do it again.
All right, here you go.
Tails up.
Yep. Little tiny controls are crucial.
Hey,
There you go.
came back down.
Not too bad, huh?
All right.
All right. At this point, you should be really comfortable, and you should also realize that tiny little inputs are all that's needed to fly this plane properly.
Right.
If you have to put really aggressive inputs,
There's something wrong.
Check your manual, make sure your specifications and the plane is dialed in. Every reputable manufacturer will have the throws that they suggest to dial your plane in, and if it's a bind and fly or ready to fly, they'll be very, very clear about that, or they'll already be pre-installed. Always go back and validate that.
Okay.
Okay?
Now, on the off chance that your plane does not have landing gear,
And actually, that's very common, especially for trainers.
you're gonna have to hand launch it.
Yeah. And this is where a buddy comes in handy.
So something like this.
Exactly. That is the
No
FT
gear.
Versa. It's a scratch build of ours.
Right.
It's a flying wing.
Now, there's a lot of different ways that you can hand launch.
Yes.
This one, the prop is on the front, so we're safe to hold on here and toss it this way. But a lot of times, the prop will be on the back, so you don't want to have your hand there where it's going to go through and
You'll cut it up.
not good.
Not good at all.
So another way you can launch it is by wingtip
Yes.
launching.
And you got that absolutely right. Now, there's an extensive video on this too.
Yeah, we do have one.
Yes, but wingtip launching is much safer for pusher style airplanes because you're nowhere near the prop.
Yeah.
And that's all about safety.
Yeah.
And why don't you demonstrate a simple wingtip launch?
Sure. Well, you want to keep it level. You don't want to be launching it like this.
Exactly. Exactly.
But, just keep it level.
Keeping it's very much the same as throwing a frisbee. Have you ever seen those backhand frisbee throwing?
Right.
So you're going to maintain your energy. You're going to release it not when it's coming across you, but when it's coming straight in line
right
with
beside you.
Exactly, with enough airspeed. And this is where it's always good to have a friend helping you out with
Yeah.
this. That way you can keep both hands on the sticks and the controls.
It's a complicated thing if you got to do it all by yourself.
Absolutely, absolutely. But other than that, a simple launch should always carry moderate power. You don't want to be full throttle. You want to be roughly anywhere from half to 3/4,
Yep.
depending on the type of airplane. If you go too high on the throttle, the actual torque of the motor is going to override and cause it to bank pretty severely.
You want to show them how to do it?
Yeah, so of course we checked our CG, the battery's in the proper place.
Right.
And we're going to do the exact same process as we did on the concrete, but we're going to move over to the grass here
Yeah.
and land it in the grass.
Okay.
All right.
Now, just make sure when you throw it, you keep it level. Let the plane do the lifting.
Yeah, let the energy of the prop carry it.
Yeah.
Not
So
much
you don't
your
want to
strong
throw
arm.
it. You don't want to throw it hard. Let the plane do the work. You just launch it.
All right, I'm going to go to roughly half throttle here.
All right. Ready?
Yep.
How's
Nice.
that?
Very nice. And a little flare. There we go.
Okay.
Beautiful thing about belly landing airplanes is it's much easier to keep from flipping over. And also, you don't have to worry about tracking everything because it just skids to a stop.
Nice.
All right. Now let's go ahead and do a wingtip launch.
Now when I release, I'm going to release right here.
Exactly.
Right, I'm not going to bring it all the way back around to my buddy here.
No, that would be very awkward. And I'm going to keep my hands on the sticks. And once again, don't go in a high altitude. Don't go too fast. Don't spike it into the ground. Nice, level, and easy. And if it doesn't feel like there's enough prop to carry out of your hand, find out enough power.
Okay.
You ready, brother?
Yep.
And once again, we're just going to go ahead and maintain one direction. We're not going to do any turns.
Nice flare.
Little flare at the end.
There you go.
There we go. And everything with flaring is all about depleting the lift energy from the wings. Whether it's a fast plane, slow plane, 100cc in the future, it's all about depleting the lift. You don't want to go ahead and touch down the ground without depleting most of that lift, or else you're going to shoot right back up in the air.
Okay.
All right? A plane that's flying and touching the ground too fast is a touch and go. You like that?
I did.
You touch,
You can
and then
touch
you
and
go.
Okay. So for takeoffs,
Yes.
things to remember.
Yep, is get your speed up, keep it tracking straight, lift it off, keep your wings as level as possible, always small maneuver or small
Right.
movements. on
Only
your
make
stick.
corrections.
Small corrections, yes. Turning's gonna come later.
Right.
Now with landings, it's gonna be the exact opposite. We're gonna keep on maintaining that just straight track.
Yeah.
We're gonna keep into the wind, and then as it gets closer to the ground, we're gonna go ahead and start bleeding off that speed. You don't ever wanna bleed off the speed while you're high up in the air, because what does that give you?
Stall.
Stalls are bad.
Stalls are bad.
And a flare high up is nothing more than a stall. A flare right above the ground, you're actually stalling the wing, but the moment it
Why don't
stalls
you-
is the moment.
Why don't you show it real quick?
One more time?
Yeah, sure.
All right. All right, half throttle. When you go to land, you're gonna slowly bleed off the energy and decrease your power.
Nice.
As it slowly comes there, you're gonna keep on pulling back, and theoretically, once you're about ready to touch the ground, your stick should be almost all the way back.
Okay.
All right, that's gonna be the point at which you know that you're just about ready to stall. All that energy's about to leave, and then it touches the ground.
Nice.
Exactly. So always maintain small inputs. And for now, keep it straight into the wind. If you take off into the wind and you're staying straight, you should be landing into the wind as well too.
Okay.
Now there's a lot more to cover about flaring, and we have a very extensive video that'll show you a lot of things about glide slope, finding your glide slope, and it'll be linked down below. So by all means, go to that video, watch it. It's gonna be very complete. But don't just go ahead and do it real time with what we did. Do 3 or 4 batteries like this. The better you do on your takeoffs and the landings, the better flight experience you're gonna have later on, because that means when you do get low to the ground, you'll know exactly what to do. Now with hard surface landings, we alluded to it, but everything's gonna be the exact same process. Flaring is flaring, but when you touch down an aircraft with wheels on a hard surface, you're gonna have to maintain that speed because it's not gonna bleed off as quickly.
Or else
So
you're gonna flip, right?
you're gonna flip a ground loop, absolutely. So keep it tracking straight. And this is very important to get your taxiing down on a hard surface, because when you touch down again, you're high-speed taxiing once again.
Okay.
So as you touch down and maintain it, throttle goes all the way back, or let the speed decrease and maintain direction until it decreases enough where you can turn it without it tipping over.
Okay.
Don't try to turn it too quickly or it's gonna grab a wingtip.
Okay, so to sum everything up, do a transmitter range check.
Mm-hmm.
You wanna check your battery, check the center of gravity.
Yep, check your throws, make sure that the throws are left is left and right is right, up is up, and down is down.
Be a good idea to label your plane.
Yeah, in
just
case you have to
you
fly
lose
away.
it. And then when you're getting into the air,
Yeah.
small inputs.
Small movements, and practice taxiing around a little bit. You know, practice seeing how the plane tracks and everything. Make sure if anything does pull, correct it. Whether it's a landing gear or trims, make sure you correct it so it tracks nice and straight. Always take off into the wind, and don't just jam full throttle. Slowly apply your throttle. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3. Don't just jam it all the way forward, or the torque of the motor is going to have some steering issues with your plane.
Keep everything level.
Yep.
Small inputs again.
Yes.
And when you come to land,
Yep.
You just kind of bleed off that speed a
Yep,
little bit?
you bleed off your throttle and you start pulling back pressure and let the
Give it a
plane
little
settle
flare.
towards the ground. A little bit more back pressure. You want the wing to be stalling right as you're touching the ground. That is called a flare.
Okay.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah, for belly landings, hand launching.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
make-
yeah. When you hand launch, you want to keep it level.
Yeah, make sure your hand's not going to go through the prop.
Right. Allow the plane to do its job. You don't have to throw it hard. You don't have to try to throw it up into the air.
Yes, and having a buddy is very good for hand launching.
Hey, buddy.
And belly landings are the exact same as any other type of landing. Only difference is obviously your speed's going to be depleted and you can't taxi, so you have to go walk.
Right.
All right.
Okay.
Now it's going to be your turn to fly.
Yes, but before that, we want to thank you guys for watching, and thanks Horizon Hobby for sponsoring this beginner series. And if you guys missed any of the earlier episodes, make sure you go back and check them out because there's a lot of really helpful information.
And in our next episode, you're going to see how to turn left and right, and that's going to be where we're actually talking about flying patterns and more
The cool
advanced
stuff.
things. The cool stuff. You're getting there, friends.
All right, we'll see you guys next
All
time.
right, let's put another
My
battery on
turn.
U-turn.